Me, 34, my daughter with type 1 diabetes, 11. My daughter has T1D and has been diagnosed since she was 5. For the most part, she handles it like a champ, but she's a kid. Sometimes it's really horrible. I don't blame her when she's upset about it. She's gotten very good at managing how she's feeling and speaking up when she feels off or wrong. That said, she's 11, and the nurse and 2 of her block teachers are meant to supervise when she gives herself medication. We have a 504 plan in place at her school and have had it in place since diagnosis. I have conferences with teachers every year, and since she started at the middle school this year, her new nurse and administrative staff. I let my daughter speak her piece and let her feel heard. She struggled with non-school extracurricular before ignoring her concerns when she says she doesn't feel good because she looks fine. This school year started the end of August, and we met a week prior. I got a call Monday afternoon while I was at work saying that the school bus driver had to call the ambulance for my daughter on the way home because she fainted. My job is 40 minutes away, so I said I would meet them at the hospital. She was awake and chatting with her nurse when I got there. Her blood sugar had dropped very low while she was at school. She was feeling better and didn't seem too bothered, so I took her home once allowed and let her pick a movie to watch. Once the movie was over, I asked if she didn't feel good at school. I needed to make sure she wasn't ignoring her symptoms and had eaten lunch. She told me that she felt weird just before the end of the day and checked her sugar with her teacher, who had sent her to the nurse when it was really low. When she told the nurse she needed glucagon, the nurse said no and she should take it at home when she gets there. At this point, I was raging. The nurse did not give her medication and then sent her to the bus. The 504 plan in place has a stipulation that if her blood sugar is too low at the end of the day, she cannot take the bus home. The nurse is supposed to give her glucagon and I get called to pick her up and arrange someone to take her home. The bus drivers aren't trained to know what to look for or to give her medication. I called the school Tuesday morning to arrange a meeting to talk about what happened. We scheduled it, but it hasn't happened yet. In the meantime, I went wild. Mile-long Facebook post with pictures of the 504 and hospital bill and me ranting. It kind of took off and got a lot of attention. Last night, my siblings and coworkers started telling me maybe I went too far in making the post, specifically in my naming the nurse. It was shared in a couple of different pages on Facebook for our county and town, and a lot of people have been making comments on the school board social medias about the nurse. A lot of the outrage comes from other parents with kids on 504 IEP plans. Am I the idiot for calling out the school and nurse? Not the idiot, the nurse was wildly irresponsible for sending a child with a low blood glucose level anywhere, never mind onto a bus. I would have reacted exactly the same way. She put your baby's life at risk, and that is the worst distress someone can cause a parent. That said, just double check with someone in the know to make sure that there are no potential legal ramifications to your post. Perhaps but a disclaimed post out to say that you're speaking to the school and the result of that is pending just to cover yourself. That nurse should know better. Her decision is appalling, and she's lucky your daughter didn't die or get severely injured when she had fainted. The few times I've seen my fiancé low, talking literally single digits, have been terrifying for so many reasons. You should be angry. The other parents in your community should also be angry. Maybe it wouldn't be diabetes, but what if another child develops a medical condition that requires a 504 IEP? What if the nurse has done this before, but nothing really significant happened then, and that your daughter is just the first time she was caught? Gonna get downvoted for this, but you are the idiot for naming the nurse before they have had a right of reply. Now they have to deal with trial by Facebook. Yes, they probably messed up, and yes, there are questions about the suitability for them to do their job. But I am a strong believer in fairness, and that means giving official channels to fix things before unleashing hell on social media. My husband and I, both in our early 30s, have been together for over a decade and made the decision to not have kids. I like kids, I have nieces and nephews, we just don't want them for our own reasons. He had a vasectomy which only a few people know about. Our families are aware we don't want kids as they've asked this before during different major life events, our wedding for instance. We recently bought a 3-bedroom home with a nice yard in a nice area. Excited to show our new home to family and friends, major upgrade to our previous home, we hosted a housewarming. During the party, one of my sibling-in-laws, Alex, made a few indirect comments about all the space and kids would love it in our house etc. Eventually they asked point blank when we were having kids. I made a lighthearted joke about it, which is my go-to for this question. Oh, well, I like sushi too much to have to give it up for a pregnancy. Plus not drinking for pregnancy and breastfeeding. No thanks. I tried to make it very lighthearted and laugh it off. Most people just laughed along. That seemed to anger Alex, and I was told children are a joy and a good mother puts her kids before everything else. I agreed, children are a joy, I like spending time with the nieces and nephews, and obviously I can't be a good mom if I chose sushi over kids, so I just won't be a mom, paraphrased. Still trying to brush it off in a gentle way because I'm not trying to start a fight by telling them to stop asking in front of everyone, because I know my tone will be seen as rude and abrasive. We move on, but Alex is still annoyed and making little comments in their group about how flippant I am about it and how when it finally happens, then I'll understand. My husband heard this and jokingly said well, if she gets pregnant, that'll be a problem for the divorce lawyers. That seemed to piss them off more, but they stopped. With holidays coming up, we have not been invited to Alex's usual Halloween bonfire. When husband spoke to his parents, they told him Alex was annoyed we were so careless and callous about our child-free status and to say what we did, and they realized we had taken permanent steps to ensure we never had kids. That we know they had to do IF to have kids etc. And we are idiots to just not care. I feel bad because they did do IF and lots of fertility treatments to have their kids, and even then they still had a few miscarriages. I can't imagine wanting kids and struggling to have them and then deal with miscarriages. But at the same time, I'm so tired of justifying living my life how I want. Am I the idiot? If life comes and cuts you, it's okay to cry and feel hurt and to ask someone to help to bandage it up and clean the blood and to ask people not to poke the cut, but it does not give you the right to go bleed over everybody else. They were in your home, they were the one forcing the subject on you. They were rubbing their bleeding cut all over you. Not the idiot. You made an intentionally flippant remark to express something lightheartedly. It was interpreted poorly by someone in the opposite circumstances because Alex was too short-sighted to understand that not everything in the world is about their fertility issues. Your choice to be child-free is in no way related to Alex's frustrated desire to have children. If Alex doesn't understand something that simple and continue to snub you for daring to make personal life decisions without thinking of their needs, then throw your own Halloween bonfire party next year at your new big house. People are always so obsessed about other people having kids. It's tired. I'm suggesting tiny air horns in pockets for when these conversations arise and don't stop. Enough. Alex can't take a hint when to back off. It's hard to want kids and have difficulty having them, I get that. But being resentful towards others who make their own choices that aren't choices they themselves would make is childish. It's not about you, Alex. I have a 14-year-old daughter, Alice, her father, John, and I are separated, and as far as dads go, he's not the best, but he claims he tries, despite not having so much as sent her a birthday card since she was 6. I recently injured myself and am currently not fit for work, so I'm now getting disability payments that is about 3 times less than what I was earning in my job, so we're on a pretty tight budget, and I'm not able to save for Christmas this year as I normally do. My daughter told me she wanted a Nintendo Switch and a few games for it for Christmas back in August. I ask her around this time and start saving, and even though she's disappointed that it's not a viable option anymore, she understands that we're on a budget and that she needs to choose something on the lower end of the price spectrum. She managed to find a second-hand 3DS that comes with games, including one she wanted for the Switch, for a really good price, and she's happy with that. She casually mentioned to her father on one of the video calls he actually answered that she wasn't able to get her original gift idea, but she found a more cost-effective one and she's happy with it. He asked to speak to me, and when my daughter brought me out her phone, he started berating me, saying I needed to return to work so my daughter can have the Christmas she deserves. I told him, John, you haven't seen Alice in person in 2 years, and you haven't sent her a gift, a card or even a happy birthday in nearly a decade. If you are so concerned about our daughter getting the Christmas she deserves, maybe you can pay the court-mandated child main that you haven't paid in 5 years, or you can buy the presents yourself, since you claim to be earning a 1K a week. He hung up the phone and texted my daughter, saying not to call him for a while as he's extremely angry. She's glad I stood up to him, but she's upset that he doesn't want to speak to her and is angry with me because I caused that. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your ex sounds like a real piece of work. He hasn't celebrated his kid's birthday in nearly 10 years, but he's giving you crap for getting her a less expensive substitute for what she wanted for Christmas. That's just hypocritical. It sounds like you raised a good, level-headed kid, but it might worth checking if there are some low-cost or free mental health services in your area for kids her age. It must be tough for her dealing with a dad like that. You sound like a wonderful mother stuck with a deadbeat dad who's looking for any opportunity to put you down and distance himself from where his responsibilities should lie. Your daughter deserves the money she should be getting from her father. Screw him and go after his butt for it legally. If he was being a good father and you didn't want to make your relationship with him or with his daughter toxic by pursuing childcare legally, I would understand, but he's not, and he's trying to talk down to you for being injured. He's delusional and should back off. Not the idiot. It's easier to pretend to be angry so that your daughter has no expectations from him. This was his way out. Is your daughter aware of the type of relationship you have and the fact that he does not provide for her? She may be angry because she loves him, but deep down she knows you're the one that's always been there for her. And who the hell does he think he is talking to you like that when he doesn't even do the bare minimum? Also, he's going to punish your daughter because you called him out. What a prick. I, 31, am getting married in April. My colleague who I'll call Meg, 29, and I both requested the same days off from work. These 3 days lead up to my wedding day, a Saturday. Well, my friend requested 2 of these days off for a vacation with her family to Disney. They already paid for it and, according to her, cannot get a refund on deposits for where they are staying. Needless to say, her personal days were denied. Mine were not because I requested it before she did with a few others. We are teachers, and there's a cap on how many can take a personal day according to our union contract at a time, especially with the sub shortage in the States. I mentioned to a group of us that I got my days approved when being asked about wedding stuff. She asked me later on in private if I could give her my days since my wedding is local and I can work on it after work. I told her no and that I had lots of planning to do to prepare. She said that I am being over the top for a wedding and that I'm costing her money. I told her I like having time to get everything together no matter what the event is. But she said her husband only gets vacation during this time and they cannot reschedule, but I really don't think that's my problem. I asked my fiancé about it and he agrees with me, but I know he can be biased. So I came here. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Timing is everything, first come, first served. But if the only thing in her way is not having a sub, maybe she should call around. I'm a sub and in a very short time had several teachers who would call me directly to see if I was available because they knew I was reliable and would get the work done with the kids. Any teacher who has been teaching for a while should have a list of their go-to subs. Yeah, there is a shortage, but I have taken jobs I wouldn't have during this time because a teacher I knew called or texted to ask me to work. But definitely not your problem. She sounds like this one guy at my work who is that guy who requests the days between Christmas and New Year's off the January before, so no one else ever gets it. He was not happy when the requester approval process changed and he could no longer snipe those days and had to make different plans. Either her husband works at a job with a shutdown in April, manufacturing plants, for example, schedule week-long shutdowns once or twice a year to do deep cleaning and major maintenance, so they use that time for extra vacation days, or they're fibbing a bit on him not having any flexibility at all, given the amount of notice. She shouldn't have spent money until her requested days were approved. She waited too long to make the request. It doesn't matter that she takes the same days each year. I take a specific week in October off each year as well. But I make my request on January 1st, the day our time off software is loaded with a new calendar year. I don't wait and assume no one else will ever want those same days. Her assumption is a pretty entitled way of looking at things. Not the idiot. So, I, 29, have a close group of friends all around the same age. We've been friends since middle high school. 4 of us work in tech and are high earners. Amy doesn't and is the only one that doesn't make at least 6 figures. We tend to be generous with Amy because of her financial situation. Over the pandemic, Amy's job became very unstable and unreliable. We found out that she couldn't afford her mortgage. The four of us decided to help her out. Since February, we've been giving her about $1.2k a month to help her out with her expenses. I personally contributed $600 since I had the least amount of other obligations. Just to be clear, Amy didn't explicitly ask us to do this, but she complained about how much she was behind on her mortgage. She cried to us about her fear of losing her townhome. This arrangement worked for us with no issues until one of the girl's older sister got engaged. She's having a big wedding, and we were all going to be bridesmaids. She was also planning a lavish bachelorette getaway. She told us the budget will be more than $6k per bridesmaid. She was very understanding that not all the bridesmaids could attend either due to financial or timing reasons. 3 other girls declined attending. We were all surprised when Amy said she was attending. Afterwards, we asked Amy how she could afford this optional trip, especially when she's been struggling to make her mortgage. She casually said that her job had picked back up and she's gotten lucky with some investments. So for months she's just been saving and investing the money we gave her. I got pissed off. Am I the idiot for being mad? $600 a month wasn't a big struggle for me, but I could have done other things with that money. Amy is insisting that we gave her the money and she can do whatever she wants with it. She mad at us for telling her what she can do with her gift. She said that it wasn't a big deal that we still make double what she makes. Do we have a right to be pissed off? OP and their friends clearly gave money because they didn't want Amy to lose her house. Amy knew that she was getting money to keep her house. Amy didn't say anything about getting her job back because she knew the money she was getting towards her mortgage would stop. She kept it hidden because she knew that money was for a specific cause. OP and her friends were tricked. They didn't do anything wrong. Amy is not a friend, and I'd have been petty as hell and invited her on the trip to make her use that money and then just casually mention y'all are cutting her off. Otherwise she just gets away with having cashed in on your caring for her. Not the idiot. I'd argue it's financially stupid to drop $6k on a bachelorette trip in the same year you accepted significant help making mortgage payments. If she's secure enough to drop cash like that on this trip, she's secure enough to turn down more help. You're not an idiot for deciding to stop the flow of cash and feeling a bit taken advantage of. There's purchases she could make that wouldn't warrant this if her phone or laptop broke and she replaced them or was putting money down on a vehicle that she needed, but this specific expense is frivolous enough to be irksome. You and your friends were very generous and keep her afloat in a time of hardship. That's what good friends do because the friendship is worth it. A good friend also tells their friends, my job has picked back up so you won't need to send anything my way anymore. I appreciate that you guys have helped me so much during this time. Next time we do something fun together, it's on me. The money you gave was to keep her house, not for a nest egg. Not for investments. It was directly to keep her house when her job security was shaky, at best. She took advantage of your kindness. I think this friendship is over.